Hello guys, my name is Jose Luis Inostroza. I am chef patron at restaurant Arca and also culinary director for Art With Me. We know we couldn't be together for Art With Me, so we wanted to bring a little bit of the culinary magic to everybody at home. So we're gonna be making some sticky pork ribs with pasilla and tamarind glaze. So we're gonna be starting with the ribs. The ribs have been salted for an hour, left at room temperature. We're gonna grill them to get some caramelization on them. We're then gonna rest them and we're gonna make the sauce. The sauce consists of roasting tomatoes, pasilla peppers, and a base of coconut. Thickening the whole thing with tamarind and then using that glaze to cook the ribs in the oven. Let's get going. So with this, you want to keep the tomato raw. We're just caramelizing the exterior of the tomato to give it that charry, smoky flavor that we want, but still keeping the raw flavor of the tomato. So you do that through intense and very aggressive heat. You find that when you cut into the tomato, it's still cold inside. It's just the outside that's been charred. So as you can see, we describe this as like a leopard skin. Some parts more burned than others, but the tomato is still completely, so it's holding its shape. That's what you want. Also with the peppers, again, you want to do it quite aggressively so you don't overcook the pepper. You just char the skin and get all that flavor from the pepper. If you don't have a grill or you don't want to use a grill because it's too much work, you can do it on your broil setting in your oven. So since you're taking it to a point that's basically completely black, I'm smelling it to either smell beautiful like roasted peppers, or if you smell it and it just smells like burned char, then that's what, you know, you're taking it too far, so you want to take it away if that's what you smell. But if you're smelling like very aromatic, very very like flavorsome roasted pepper smell, then you're doing a good job. Continue to do it. Once you get to that point of it's smelling like ash in a way, that's when you want to take it away. You can also, I mean, some people recommend to put this into a plastic bag so it steams the pepper and it's easier to peel, but if you char it correctly, it'll come right off. So as you guys can tell, in the beginning we started with high heat to cook the tomatoes and the peppers. You do that so that you don't overcook the peppers and they become quite juicy, and also for the tomatoes to be raw. But when we jump to the rib, we want some medium heat. So it's very important to be able to change your heat, or to be able to adapt how much wood or how much charcoal you put on your grill. So you don't want to attack the ribs in a very aggressive heat because you won't get a proper caramelization. You'll be more of charring the ribs, and that's not a nice flavor. So we've roasted the tomatoes and the peppers as for the base of our sauce. We're gonna be jumping onto the ribs, the pork ribs. What we have done is that we have seasoned it very aggressively with salt, just salt, and just let that salt sweat out the protein. You could call it like a light cure. Some cures completely cover the protein in salt and then they'll wash it off. This is just a very light, it's an aggressive seasoning, but light compared to burying the whole protein in salt. Basically, it seasons the whole protein from the inside out. The water content of the ribs start to come out, then it gets the salt wet, and then the salt penetrates into the center of the meat. So here we want to do it not so aggressively as we did the tomatoes and the peppers, but we want to do it a little bit slower so you get some of that caramelization. When you start caramelizing the protein, the natural sugar starts to caramelize. That's called the Maillard reaction. That's why a toasted piece of bread tastes better than a untoasted piece of bread. But we also want to do it slow, so for the fat to be able to melt If you do it aggressive, then the outside area gets charred before the inside fat can melt away and start that process. So while the ribs are on the grill, we're gonna be jumping into the toppings. We have the meat, which is very smoky. It has a lot of texture. We have the base, which is as well very smoky, a lot of depth and flavor, very acidic. So we're gonna, the toppings, we're gonna focus on it to have a crunch factor, some sort of like raw, crunch, juicy, fresh aspect to them. So we're gonna have some thinly sliced scallions, some pickled red onions in lime juice. It's very, very different to pickle them in lime juice than to do them in vinegar. We also have some oregano. It's very classic Mexican to pickle the onions, red onions and lime, and then add oregano to it. And then we're gonna slice some red serranos to give us some color and I get also some crunch. And we have some pomegranates, also some crunch. So you have that very tender and succulent rib with that sticky glaze, and then you have these crunchy toppings. It just balances the mouthfeel quite well. So we're gonna start slicing the spring onions. A thin slice, nothing crazy. You could do a little bit thicker if you're not afraid of that raw onion flavor. So for the ribs, as you can see here, it's quite dark caramelization, quite dark browning, but there's no black. You don't want black in any type of protein. You want very, very dark brown, a lot of high Maillard reaction, but you don't want anything black. Black equals bitterness in protein, especially when it's over the grill. So you want, again, this has been on the grill for about 30 minutes. We're not cooking it, we're just giving it some color. There's really no, depending on your heat, you wanted this at medium heat, and then again, slowly start rendering the fat, getting that caramelization, not get any black spots. I'll say all in all, it'll probably take about 40 minutes on the grill. Then we're gonna put it on the side. We're gonna be making the base, covering the whole thing in foil, and then finish it in the oven for about an hour. This is something that you're looking for. Maybe a little bit more caramelized, 10 more minutes on the grill, and it'll be ready to go. Smells good, huh? See how the bones start to come up? The meat starts to shrink because of it's getting cooked, and the bones start to pop out of the meat. That's a telltale sign that you're almost ready to go. You're looking for two things: for the bones to pop out a little bit, and for the color in the meat. So for the base of the sauce, I almost say that's the most important part of the whole dish. We're gonna start with the Holy Trinity, which is garlic, the white part of the spring onion, and ginger. That's gonna be sauteed with coconut oil. Then it's gonna get deglazed with the charred tomatoes and the charred peppers. Then we're gonna deglaze with soy sauce and fish sauce to give that umami and also some salinity. Then we're gonna incorporate the tamarind, the chipotle, and the pasilla, and we're gonna saute that until it's quite dry. And once it's called al sec in chef's terms, but it's just basically till the pot doesn't have any liquid. It's just the paste itself. Then we're gonna incorporate the coconut milk. Bring that to a boil and blend. So a nice coconut, chili, tamarind, sticky base for the ribs. Finger licking good. Also for the toppings, we're gonna be roasting some pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are, I would say, as common as peanuts are in America. We're gonna be roasting them. They're extremely crunchy, extremely umami. So we're also gonna be sprinkling some of that on top of the ribs. So something you don't want to do is chop chilies and then touch your face like I did. So with the pumpkin seeds, you wanna take them to the point where you want to take them to the point that you're comfortable with the caramelization, and then take it a little bit farther. Properly caramelized pumpkin seeds will give you a very umami, caramel, nutty tone to it. Sometimes people don't get the most out of their pumpkin seeds because they're afraid of burning them. So we're just gonna pass the pumpkin seeds to a cold plate or to a room temperature plate so they don't continue to cook over. So you see, some people may think that this is actually too dark, but in my opinion, when they're taking this far, they give another layer of umami-ness, nuttiness, almost Parmesan-y type of flavor profile, which that's what we want. Also, they give a lot of crunch. From the beginning, we've roasted the peppers. That was one of the first steps. Again, if you've done it properly, once you pass it through water, the pepper will get exposed. Just the outer layer of the pepper gets roasted, gets blackened, and then you're left with a very tender, very juicy flesh of the pepper, which is almost fruit-like. It's very sweet. It turns into something very sweet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out the seeds, and we're just gonna keep the actual flesh of the pepper. So we start with the coconut oil, aromatics, Holy Trinity, garlic, onion, ginger. You don't want to give color to this, at least not now. What you're looking is to sweat them out a little bit. Have them kind of explode their aroma into the oil. Sometimes I feel that when you caramelize ginger, that you lose a little bit of the first aromas of it. You're just left with a taste of the ginger instead of that fragrant, almost perfumey aspect of the ginger that I love. You're almost left with just as like the spiciness of the ginger instead of that fragrant aroma. So once it starts to caramelize, and you don't want to caramelize it, to stop it, you're gonna add the tomatoes. The tomatoes, because you char them quite like quickly, they still have a lot of water, heavy in water content. So the water is gonna start to kind of sweat out, and it's gonna prevent from the aromatics to get caramelized or burnt. Also, the pepper has a lot of high water content. It's a very rustic base. It's in between a curry and a mole. Mexican, Asian, Mex-Asian influence. And we're gonna be adding some of the pasilla peppers. Pasilla, to me, it adds a little bit of sweetness. And what we've done here is that we have just opened them up, taken out the seeds, and then soaked them in water. So this can be the base of any curry or any mole. We're gonna add a little bit of chipotle. And then our tamarind paste. So you want to take a look at just a mean looking pot. Roasted peppers, roasted tomatoes, 2 types of chilies, ginger, garlic, onion, tamarind. We're gonna reduce that a little bit to intensify all the flavors. And then we're gonna incorporate in the coconut milk. We use a lot of coconut in the peninsula. So this we're just gonna bring up to a boil. Soy sauce and fish sauce. We're gonna bring this to a boil, and just let it infuse for 30 minutes before blending it. Oh, money. So perfect. So we're gonna put that aside. See all those red deep colors? Some of them are like fruit tones, some of them are sweet, some of them are smoky. We're gonna let that infuse and then we're gonna blend it. That's gonna be our glaze for our ribs. So it's been infusing for 30 minutes. Now we're gonna blend it. So the recipe that we're making today will be posted on the Are With Me Facebook page. And that recipe will yield, if it's going to be an appetizer for the pork rib, it's a 1 full pork rib. It will feed about 6 to 8 people if it's an appetizer. And if it's a main course, I think it will feed about 3 to 4 people. And this sauce is just enough for that. We have a little bit left over, so you can dip your ribs while you're eating, but that's about it. So if you're doing this from home, I recommend just grabbing the big chunks. You can also chop it up if you want. It's not necessary, but you can do it if you feel better doing it. So you're gonna grab all the big chunks, put them in. So while you're pouring your pot, they don't come all at once and splash you. All right, guys, so here we have the pork ribs that we have ready to go in aluminum foil. We have the sauce. What we're gonna do is basically we're gonna be covering the protein quite aggressively with the sauce. We really want it to be not swimming in it, but you definitely don't want to have any shortcomings here. Add a little bit, start spreading it out. Once, you have to remember, for example, this thickness on the sauce is perfect. If you have any thinner, you want to go ahead and cook it down a little bit on your saute pan. You want to make sure that you get also sauce underneath. So if it's thinner than what we have here, you definitely want to cook it down in your pan, because in the oven, the meat is going to contract and it's going to release a lot of its juices. That's going to thin out the sauce even more. So basically, make sure all the spots are covered. And again, you see all that excess? That's going to be money later on. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be basically making a little packet. You want it to be quite airtight. You don't want any steam escaping, because the steam is gonna help us cook the rib. You want to be careful with the excess sauce. Make sure it's in the center, and also the little spikes of the bones. You want to be careful that it's not puncturing your aluminum foil. So again, you make a little packet. I just fold it onto the sides, push all the sauce to the center, then just very gently flip it over. We're gonna be doing this exact same process again with aluminum foil, so we make sure we have a nice seal. Again, remember you have the bones underneath. You don't want to press too hard that, again, the bones puncture the aluminum foil. Press it down gently, give it a shape. A little bit more over here. Press it down. sit down, and then bring it to the top. That's really gonna make. So this little pack is gonna go into the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. If you're at home, you want to do about 350 for about an hour. Here we're gonna go directly on the wood fire oven, so it's a little bit of Hello guys, so here we've been roasting the pork ribs for 2 hours now, and should be ready to go. You want to be checking them. It's not an exact 2 hours. The time will vary depending on your oven, how thick the ribs are, how much bone they have, how big the bones are. So you really want to be checking it every, let's say, 30 minutes. Leave it the first hour and then check it at the hour, and then 30 minutes after that. I would say it's ready to go. You want to retain all these juices. They'll come in handy later on. And now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be topping it. We have the scallions. We have the pickled onions. We have the pumpkin seeds. Basically what you want to do, you want to just shower the whole thing with it. Like confetti. Confetti, grown-up confetti. You're gonna be making a mess on the cutting board, but don't worry, because you're gonna pass everything to the plate, and it's gonna look very clean. So I put these, both the scallion and the peppers, in ice water. This basically activates them. It's called waterlog. When the vegetables basically get saturated with water, they become more crunchy. I think it looks pretty good. So once you basically topped everything off, the pickled onion is going to be for the plate. So the easiest way to figure out where to cut, you're going to be looking at the bones. So you basically just want to cut in the middle of those two. That's like the money shot. The idea is that every bite you take of the ribs, you grab a little bit of the onions. Thank you guys. My name is Jose Luis, chef patron at Arca, and these are pork sticky ribs with tamarind and pasilla glaze. Enjoy.